I've used many sliders throughout my career as a filmmaker, ranging from cheapo ones that were quite terrible but got me started, up to systems that cost over $2,000 but had less features than my new system, weren't as smooth, and honestly were quite mediocre. But today, I'm going to show you why the Edelkrone SliderPlus paired with our newest slide module and HeadONE system is the best slider I've ever used. I currently own 3 sliders, and I have owned an Edelkrone in the past, and I've also used multiple of the previous versions before extensively on various shoots, and I've always been very intrigued with them, not only with the capabilities, but also because of how innovative of a company Edelkrone is. They continue to keep thinking of new awesome ideas and products for us filmmakers, things that we've never even asked for or thought about, but they actually come in very useful when you try them. There's a ton to talk about, but today I'm going to focus on their updated slider. I really like the capabilities of their previous motorized systems, but there are a few things that I didn't love. So when Edelkrone reached out to me and wanted to partner with me and send out their latest system for me to test out and make a video on, I was intrigued. Now, they didn't tell me what kind of video to make, the length, what to say, what to title it, anything like that. So everything said are my own opinions, and as you could probably tell, it actually exceeded my expectations. The base of the system is the SliderPlus, which you're most likely familiar with. The latest version has some upgrades that I really like. I have the long version, but in all reality, it's actually not that long, and it's shorter than my previous compact version of a slider. And that's even with the motorized module attached. And thanks to its extended slide design, I actually have more range now than I did before when it's on a tripod. And also dolly shots, since the slider doesn't get in the way. When it's not on a tripod, your range is limited to the length of the slider, and I use the built-in foldable feet that I personally like. You do need to tighten them from time to time, but that's a trade-off I'd gladly take to be able to fold them and adjust them quickly without having to use thumb screws that have little teeth or notches, or Allen wrenches. My favorite upgraded part of the slider itself is the magnetic slip-in belt. This is a point of frustration with my other sliders, having to pull the belt tighter than needed and then clamp it down, realizing you overdid it and it's too tight or it's just too loose. With their new belts, you can swap from regular to the motorized belt in just seconds, which is great for fast swapping out in the field. The slider by itself works great, but it gets even better when you add that slide module. This takes you from smooth manual slides to being able to do ultra smooth repeatable slides, time lapses, loops for things like interviews or cloning, and more. Everything is controlled through a smartphone app, which is one of the reasons why I think this is the best slider ever. My previous system had a dedicated controller that needed to be wired and connected that way, had a built-in battery that you couldn't replace, and the whole thing busted on me and I had to buy a new one. Having a controller app that could be updated with new features for longevity is a much better solution, but I'll talk about that more in just a bit. Where things get interesting is when you start to expand the system, which is another reason why I think this is the best slider system. Edelkrone has a host of accessories that you can use and even stack together that work seamlessly. Adding a single HeadONE module will give you pan control like I have with my other system, but adding 2 of them gives me something I didn't have, which is tilt functionality, and this can really take your shots to another level. Each of these systems uses a single Canon-style battery instead of having to charge the system, which is more convenient, especially for long shoots where you don't want to or can't plug in. They're simple to operate, pop in one battery and you'll hear a little chime telling you that it's on. Now, one downside is that you need to remember to remove the battery after you shoot, or else it will stay on and slowly drain. One thing I noticed right away is how quiet they are. Even at full speed, they're actually quieter than my previous system running at a low speed, so shooting interviews in a quiet environment won't be an issue. Now, what impressed me the most is how simple it is for all of these wireless kits to sync up. You literally just open their newly updated app, you hit smart pairing, and just within a few seconds, all of these separate components wirelessly pair together. No cables, no manual syncing, just really great design. You can even plug your cable for camera control into either module, allowing you to keep your cable runs short and out of the way, which is another reason why I really like this system. It's these kinds of little things that end up adding up together to make a really powerful and pleasant to use system that you can enjoy using instead of having to battle it. Now let's move on to the app. At the top, we have our battery levels, and also depending on what parts you have connected, that changes what will show up in the app, which is another plus of having an app and not a fixed system. The whole app is very intuitive. At the top left, we have our pan and tilt controls, and on the right side, we have our slide. If you have a module for focus, then that will be in the center. You can control both the pan and tilt at the same time, or you could tap on one of the icons to turn that one off to make sure you don't accidentally change it. In the center, you can program many positions, and what's really cool is that you could actually take a photo of each one, which really helps you remember what you're actually tapping on. Next is just to tap on the one you want, and the system will automatically go and adjust to the exact settings that you preset. If you want to adjust the speeds or the ease, that could be done with the sliders at the bottom. Want to set up a loop? No problem. Just press on both of them at the same time and you are set. And it'll even tell you how long will it take to go from one to the other. If you want to go between many positions, you could use the sequencer. Of course, we also have the time-lapse mode, which can control your camera, and even a stop motion option. If you have the laser module, you'll also see an option for that. Now there are some downsides to having an app, which is things like maybe having bugs, which I personally didn't experience with this version of the software, and you also need to reconnect to the components if you walk away or if you close the app. But don't worry, if you set up a time-lapse or a loop, anything like that, that will keep running. Of course, you have to have your phone with you and make sure that your phone is charged, but overall, most of this is painless and also quick. So as I said, I would much rather have it this way than have something that's limited and tethering with a cable requiring me to be right next to a slider to control it. In my line of work, a slider is really indispensable. And even though so many people are focusing on other stabilization tools, I feel like a slider can add a lot to your production, especially if you have a few motorized modules that you can creatively manipulate. But even if you just have a base slider, that nice and steady, smooth parallax movement looks really good and very clean. The last few reasons I want to talk about on why this is the best slider system I've ever used is durability and expandability. You can start off with just one slider and slowly build up your system and expand its capabilities, which is great. And for durability, this thing is really solid. And not just the slider, but every piece that I am using, from the different tools that they give you to the mounting kit to the belt quality, it's top notch. My system ended up taking a small fall and I was worried, but everything worked perfectly afterwards. Now I don't recommend dropping it or anything like that, but I have had a few parts on other sliders bend or break with similar falls, so far this system has been solid. That's probably thanks to most of it being made from metal and because of the squarish design without exposed moving parts, so because of that it should be very durable long term. Alright guys, so that is it. This is my newest slider thanks to Edelkrone. Their old design was good, but this new one is so much better and it tops every other slider system that I have used and owned, some of which cost even more money. So I'll be letting go of my other sliders, and from now on I'm going to have this more capable, less frustrating, smoother experience Edelkrone system for my slider shots. If you guys want to check out the slider and the other components in my kit, I will have all of them linked in the video description, and along with that, the other gear that I used to shoot this video. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Max, and I will see you in the next one.